And so I don't know if it's as much aimed at the tourist as
Test 1 2 testing 1 2. All right. We got Preston.
Did you do a testing 1 2 testing 1 2?
I did do a testing 1 2 testing
Mic
1 2.
check.
Ooh, look at you. Okay. And thought my boy Howard Stern was on.
My boy Howard Stern was up in his bad.
All right, man.
Was he like one of the original podcasters? He's just like a talk show, right?
A radio show.
Yeah, radio show. I don't think he likes
a TV
podcasters.
show, right?
I don't think so. I don't think he likes podcasters. Oh, everyone's phone's on side. Vibrate.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Can I turn mine down a little bit?
The headphones?
Yeah.
Oh,
sure. Yeah, sure.
Are we loud?
Yeah, you can adjust them.
I'm really loud, by the way. You can turn me
I think
way
you're
down.
3.
Yeah.
That sound better? Okay.
Up just
Just a tad bit.
That's
all right there.
That's the trick with the number 4 station. So this is where we always sit, us 3. Mm-hmm. So we got our stuff like dialed in. Sean knows my microphone has to be a little more quiet because I'm loud and rowdy.
Loud and rowdy, Bubba.
Loud and rowdy. Whoever the guest is, though, they got to tweak their own stuff. So, basically I'm Hawaiian. Now.
It's official.
Man, you're looking like a little tan Hawaiian sweet roll over there, man.
Hey, those things are good.
Yes, sir.
Like a king roll?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called, right?
Yeah.
Like you talking about little sweet bread rolls? Yeah. You buy them in a
I
pack.
just bought a whole pack of those. You do like the cheeseburger sliders with those.
Ooh.
Dropping the recipes, man.
Yeah.
OTG cooking show.
Yeah. That's just the first OTG cooking podcast.
Yeah. All right. You want to bring us in?
Bring it in, Sean.
Yeah. How's it feel to be Hawaiian?
Basically an islander. I live on my own time. Dude, Hawaii is a super interesting place.
Yeah, I've been. It's pretty sweet.
Which islands did you go to?
I don't know.
What city were you in?
I stayed on Waikiki Beach.
So that Waikiki.
Yeah.
Where'd you fly into?
Man, I don't remember.
Honolulu?
I don't remember, to be completely honest. It was the reason I got to go to Hawaii was because my boss was actually supposed to go and then he wasn't able to go. So I got to go it was actually work related, but I only had to work for like 2 days and I was there the other 5 days, just kind of on vacation.
I like that.
So, and this was like, actually, you know what's crazy? A memory popped up on my phone the other day. I was in Hawaii exactly 9 years ago.
9 years.
Same days as you were.
We just become best friends.
I think so.
We've been best friends.
9 years ago. So it's been a while.
No, Hawaii is a super interesting place. We were there for 9 days and, so we went to 3 different islands and multiple different cities. Each island has its own. I feel the need to explain it now because Jessica she thought that like each island was its own state and I
don't think that's the case.
That's not the case. All the islands are one state.
Yes.
And they do have different counties and cities,
right?
Just like Texas does, right? And so anyway, we went to 3 islands, multiple cities, every single little town, definitely every island. But even every single like little town, they're so different from each other. Like when you're on the west side of Maui and the east side of Maui, which is only straight line distance, not very far. But by the time you drive around the mountain, it'll probably take you about 3 hours or so. That difference right there is they're 2 different worlds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's one of those places where you roll into a new city. It's not far from the other city, but it's very different. So super cool place. I'm back in the saddle though. Unfortunately, had to come home late last night.
I mean, your home is Hawaii.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had to
come over here.
I had to come visit Texas for work for the next 4 to 5 years, before I can go back home.
And then you'll be back over there.
Super cool. So the OTG podcast listeners at home that are watching us on YouTube, you will see that we have a very, very, very handsome
and
special guest on the show today. My guy at Presto the Besto. Yeah, those are all of our fans. Yeah, I know. They're cheering for my tan and for Preston. Two different. It's twofold.
Mainly the tan.
Yeah.
The OTG podcast is filmed in front of a studio audience.
Coming to you live from the studio. But we got Preston in the house today. I'm going to do how I usually do, Preston, and just let you hand the mic over to you here in a minute. Tell us a little bit about your name, where you're from, what do you do, and what your goals are. And dude, we'll free flow the conversation after that because you're going to say something that interests one of us for sure.
I got plenty of stories.
Oh my God.
You can bring the mic in a little bit closer to you.
Bring your mic in.
Yeah. Bring it around town.
Are we good?
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah, very good. You can turn them up a little bit too, Sean.
Couple stories in particular, I'm sure that that we'll touch on because Daryl probably know this, but maybe Sean. Well, you guys met at the gym one time when you first got back.
Yeah.
Right.
We all had a workout together.
Yeah. Preston was around at the very beginning. He helped me out a lot actually with getting everything going. He actually made
The very beginning of OTG.
Yeah, that's right. He actually made the first shirts.
Yes, sir.
First stickers, first products.
Nice.
Because I was kind of like not about it. But anyways, tell us.
Go ahead, Preston.
What
Tell
you
us
got
about
going on,
you,
and
man.
then we'll touch on those things.
Hey, everybody. My name's Preston.
All right.
I just got out of the Army, and now I actually just quit that job out. I was last out.
Okay.
Whenever we last talked.
So we got a veteran in the house.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Did 2 deployments, and that was a good time. I went overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan. I got some stories about those. Pretty cool. I even brought some souvenirs.
Oh,
okay. Some
Okay.
really cool stuff, actually.
Yeah. Like shell casings or something like that.
A bunch of patches.
I just mess with you because it's a war zone. Yeah.
We'll say that for another time. But so we've known each other for a while now. It was funny how we met. I was working, I think I was like 16 or 17. No, I was 16 at the time, actually. And Philip came in. I worked at Jiffy Lube right across from Clear Creek High School over there.
Yeah.
And I was just regular lube tech doing whatever. He came in and
just high school kid.
Yeah.
Trying to make
normal
$5 an hour or whatever it was.
Right,
$7 an hour.
And he came in, he said he wanted full service for his truck. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay. Like nobody had ever come in and like fully service my truck before.
Right.
Like,
hey, just the oil.
Just the oil and give me a discount.
Right. Yeah. And don't charge me.
Right. Yeah.
Discount to zero.
So I was like, oh, okay. And then, whatever happened, he was at that time, Philip was working a lot. He had school, he had multiple jobs, and then,
he was
doing
training and working at Laser Key and going to school full time.
Right. And, whenever I met him, I don't know really what happened, but he was just like, hey, I need to go home. I have some stuff I need to do.
It's because it was going to be a couple hour wait.
Right.
And so I think the manager came out and like, oh yeah, dude, we'll give you a ride. It wasn't very far from, and then, from the house, whatever, we can give you a ride home and then come pick you up or whatever.
They're rolling out the red carpet, man. You came in and got a full service. They're like, hey, man, bring the car around for this guy.
Gonna put some washer fluid in there.
That
some blinker fluid, man.
That nice car happened to be my 2000 Toyota Tundra. That was a very ugly color. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was.
Go ahead and describe the color.
Number 2.
Okay. Number 2. Yeah. It was colorway number 2.
Yeah. There we go. So I took him home and, we started talking about, and I was thinking about this earlier actually, because you were talking about some like Bluetooth chip or something that you were trying to do. You found, I guess, like a wholesale for some Bluetooth chip. I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what that was?
Yeah. I found these like Bluetooth chips online where you can basically solder the speaker wire to any speaker and convert it into a Bluetooth speaker. And now that doesn't really sound like that big of a deal, like whatever Bluetooth speaker. But at that time, I thought it was just the coolest thing ever. And
8 or 10 years ago.
He did.
Like
yeah, this was a while ago.
Probably 7-8 years ago.
And I just thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, man, what if we could help people take their vintage speakers that they don't use anymore, that maybe the 8-track or the record piece of the equation doesn't work anymore, but they have these cool vintage speakers that look very classic.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a classic look to them.
Yeah.
And we can sell them these little boards. And these boards are cheap, dude. They're like 50 cents.
Yeah.
But we could pack it up into a little thing and send them soldering materials and speaker wire and give them instructions. Oh man, we could sell these for like $50-$60. And, and I was telling Preston about it and he was like, yeah, man, that sounds cool.
Like, that's so sick.
And he was all about it. And then he started telling me about cars and how he wants to flip cars. And at that time, cause I was working a lot, but I had a lot of extra money. Mm-hmm. And Preston was
didn't have OTG yet.
No.
Pre-OTG,
yeah, this
everything.
Is pre-OTG for sure. And Preston was like, hey man, why don't we try to flip some, I think it was the dirt bike. Dirt bikes.
The crotch rocket.
Right.
It was dirt bikes or something. It was dirt bikes.
You
or cars.
bought a crotch rocket and then
that was
I bought a dirt bike too.
Complete loss. The crotch rocket was a total loss.
Those things were hard to sell.
Yeah, man, we bought that for like $600.
It was one of the real tiny ones, right?
Yeah, and it just didn't work out at all.
So Phil rolls into Jiffy Lube. There's 16-year-old Preston. He's never met him in his life. Fast forward, Preston's driving Phil to his house. They've never met each other ever. They're talking about Bluetooth speakers and flipping dirt bikes.
It was really weird how it all worked because, at first I was just like, oh man, this is weird. I'm in my personal vehicle, like we're driving some random dude home. But I mean, he made it like super cool because we just kind of hit it off from there and started talking about it. And then, he mentioned he was training. At that time, I was really big into, working out and doing, whatever, every single day, twice a day, whatever it was, And so I was like, oh, sweet. Somebody who has the same interests as me.
Right. Yeah.
And so I can talk to a brick wall, man,
Yeah.
And so it was pretty easy to talk to him. And so we just started doing that. And then he was like, yeah, man, I have this idea for this fitness brand. I want to build the brand and train people and do this under this brand. And I was just like, that sounds really cool. Like, yeah, I can help you out. And I say that, hey, I can help you. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like,
we can start this business together.
Right, exactly. That's kind of how it was.
Business partners.
Looking back, I was just like, oh man, I really intruded on that. But I was like, well, at the time, my mom and my sister, they were both doing like custom t-shirts and onesies. They started a business called My Favorite Things, and the Faye is actually my niece's middle name. Okay. And so it kind of went good with it, And so they do all kinds of stuff. They're still going. I mean, she makes.
They do Etsy, right?
Yeah, Etsy, right.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Nice.
And we're trying to get on Amazon now, actually.
Okay, cool.
So that's the next step for that. Yeah. And cause she has a lot of orders. And,
nice.
Like she's doing really good.
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 Yeah. That's awesome.
Anyways. Yeah. So I was just like, hey man, I was like, let's just do like a run of shirts and stickers. We can do like 10 or 15 and whatever amount of stickers, blah, blah, blah. And so he was just like, oh, okay, whatever, we'll see. And then, I got his information.
And not really about it.
Yeah. I think I was just worried that how are we going to sell them?
Right.
You know what I mean? What are we going to do with these things?
Dude, I can sell anything.
Yeah.
He's like, but these Bluetooth chips though.
This crotch rocket down the street, I can sell that.
But t-shirts? No.
T-shirts. But yeah, so I called my sister just like, hey,
I met this guy. Crazy story.
Right. Yeah. And I was just like, hey, can you, do this? And so he sent me the design over and everything, and which is all around us.
Pyramid.
And she was just like, okay, yeah, sure. And so she did, a couple shirts, couple stickers. I think his biggest thing I remember was he was like, I just don't want any regular shirt. I want them to be comfortable and feel good, like when you're working out and stuff. And I was like, cool. So I think he ended up ordering like 2 or 3 or 4 different shirts just to like feel the material themselves. And and so, we made some shirts and started doing that. So that's kind of how that started.
That was almost like step number 1 as far as the brand.
That was the very first thing that had ever been done.
Yeah. For moving towards the brand.
That's correct. Yeah. the only other thing that had been done was, the artist created the logo.
Yeah. But so, you were already training, you were working for another facility.
Right.
So like that was kind of already, going on. That was something that was working in the background. The training is one of the things that the brand sells. But as far as branding of materials or consumables, this was like the first thing that existed beside the logo on Phil's screen.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Because probably the only other, even, and at that time, because I was, training at another facility, I was very respectful of that relationship and wasn't promoting my own.
Yeah, you weren't trying to sell OTG at the other facility.
No, and I didn't even, right? Even the training wasn't done as OTG or anything, you know. I didn't affiliate the relationship that way.
Right. Yeah. Because when you're working for at somebody else's facility, some people have contracts that are set up like that.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty
sell
common.
Themselves within the they pay the gym a flat fee and then they can sell their
this
brand.
Wasn't that type of relationship.
Yeah. But yeah, after all that, we got the shirts done and I think we sold a couple of them. I mean, this is actually the shirt I'm wearing is probably one of the first ones that was made. So as you can see, it's a little tight on me, but I was like, dude, I got to wear it. It doesn't matter. I got to wear it.
It's a little snug.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's how it started. And then, we just started talking back and forth and everything and hanging out, working out together and everything. And so that's how that started.
Because I had to set up in the garage at that time. That was over on
Potomac.
And so we would work out in the garage and just hang out,
Then we started doing like stocks or Forex, right?
Yeah. That was awful.
I remember I remember these times.
Oh man. Talk about losing some more money. We can
You know what's funny? Now that I mentioned that, do you remember we went to some big like Forex meeting in Houston or whatever, and we were driving my truck, or I was driving my truck, or whatever, and I went through the parking garage, or whatever, and that gate fell on top of my truck. Do you
remember that? No. Oh my goodness.
Talking about the number 2 truck?
Yep. Oh yeah. Man, that's how I got beat. And I don't think I ever told my parents that either. I just kind of like wiped it off. I mean, there was a big dent. Luckily,
I remember I was worried about it, but he didn't seem to care.
But she'll buff out.
Right. I mean, it's an old truck anyway, but I was just like, oh. But so it hit literally maybe like that far away from my top of my windshield too.
Oh, shit.
Oh my gosh. Because as soon as I saw it coming down, I kind of like went faster, and it just boom. And I was like, oh, that didn't sound good. But
I have not thought about that in a long time. But yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
On my way here, I was just like thinking of little things. And I was like, man, that's funny. Remembering all that stuff. But
that's crazy.
Did you service the truck? Full service?
Yes, full service. I don't think we had any issues. I don't remember.
I doubt
there was any issues.
So you service the truck, you get Phil, and this relationship's born. Yeah. And you have a sister who's printing, has a business within that realm. You're like, hey, she can print some stickers, some shirts, whatever. That happens. And it kind of quiets down. The OTG thing kind of quiets down for a little while, right? As far as like creating products. Yeah. And y'all are doing these other ventures. You're losing money. You're losing money at trying to flip a street bike. Yeah.
There we go.
Y'all are doing Forex. Y'all are losing money on that front, right? But the point is y'all are collaborating together with one another, and I'm going to use the word scheming. We were. That's for sure. We were scheming. Yeah. Y'all were trying to figure out ways to be successful, to make money. And OTG was an idea at the time that Phil would later obviously grow into what it is now. But I think the point I'm trying to highlight is y'all weren't just analyzing what to do and then not doing it. Y'all are going, we'll spend some money on that.
Pretty much zero analyzing going on.
Let's figure it out.
It was straight action.
So the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. You probably need to do a little bit of analyzing, but you do always have to take action.
That's right. Yeah.
And so y'all are taking action on a few different things that aren't that are not.
It was more of like a YOLO type thing.
Yeah. I think that this story really, the lesson to be learned as I haven't really thought about these things in some time, but the lesson to take away from this is that you have to try things. And I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is really reiteration of that. You have to try things.
OJT. We call it at work.
On the job training.
On the job training. Yeah.
Like you do something, it doesn't work. Well, you don't do that again.
No matter what, like, of course you want to analyze deals let's just take a stock or in any type of investment. You want to look into it and check out the history and the odds and potential and all the things that go along with it. But there's nothing like that on the job training. Yeah. You can talk about investing in something all you want, and you're neither gonna gain, you're only gonna lose time. You're not gonna gain anything until you start trying stuff, and you try something that doesn't work. You learn from that mistake and you move on. And you know, that's kind of, we circle back to this quite often during the show, but you know, take action. You got to take action in your life.
I think the number one, speaking of being in the middle, like you're on one side of analyzing and never taking action. Yep. And you have the other side of taking too much action,
not analyzing
and not analyzing at all. I'm actually going to go ahead and lean a little bit more towards the less analyzing and more action.
Yep.
Because the action taking and failure builds resiliency.
Yeah.
The resilience that's built is probably the most important part, to be honest.
You either win or you learn. So.
I would say on the flip side of that coin too, from my experience, is the longer you go without taking action, the more fear of taking action you're probably going to have.
Yes. I agree.
So it's going to build up. Oh, like, okay, you didn't take action this time or this month or this year. And then, you didn't do it next year. And then it's going to be this big lingering fear that lives in you.
Oh, for sure.
You have to do something about it.
Even if because the thing is, on that note, the fear is going to build anyways.
No matter what.
I look back at the time, like towards those times and up until maybe when I went ahead and left my job to go ahead and pursue full-time fitness. I look back at the decisions that I made then. I would probably be too scared now to do some of those things. Even though I've been through them, the fear has still built.
Yeah. Had you waited this long to take action, you probably wouldn't take action.
No way. I look at some of the decisions that I made. We're talking about a financial decision at the end of the day. Like there's a lot of things that go into this, but at the end of the day, one of the most important ones is the financial decision of, what to do with your life. Right. Mm-hmm. If I were to see the numbers in front of me right now of where I was like financially with assets and like income, how much money I had saved and how much debt and all those things, no way. No, 0% chance I take that leap.
Right.
Yeah.
But you did.
I did then.
And you know what, too, what I was thinking about is there was we did a lot of different side hustles and stuff like that. And I mean, you were busy, man. Like you were busy. And me being a high school kid,
Jiffy Lube.
I'm like, I got this class to do. I don't want to do the homework for it, whatever. And this dude's sitting here balancing, 20 different jobs that he's got on top of, I think you were doing
cards
rental.
Are coming out. Like, man.
Right. But you had like rental house or something like that at that time too. And all that. So he's balancing all this stuff out. And that was one of the things that, I was just like, wow, this dude is, he's it, man. Like this dude's a good dude and he's got it going. Like,
he's going to strike gold.
He's the man with a plan.
Well, and you just have to do all the different things and they don't work out. And the only way, and like I said, I'm so glad now looking back that I did those things. And hopefully if any young people ever hear this, I think that it's important to try things. I mean, don't be an idiot, but don't
invest in Forex.
Let me tell you about crotch rockets. Don't buy them. So, but what, like you said, Phil, you're trying all the different things. Some work out, some they do. How's that saying go? A 300 batting average is Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah. And you fail.
If you have a career
7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a career batting average of 300, that's you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. Mm-hmm. That's a Hall of Fame career. Depending on, you can't do it for 1 year, right?
Yeah.
If you have a decent MLB career and you go you bat 300 total, you're probably gonna,
and that means you
300 out of every 1,000, 3,000 out of every 10,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It builds up, right? So if you, the point is you're not always going to win. Right. And you're not always going to lose though either. Right.
You have to stack those wins, I think is really important.
At the very least you learn, like Sean said, well, you touch the hot stove, burns the piss out of you. I ain't touching that hot stove again. Right. Or I'll put an oven mitt on.
You just have to realize the wins and the losses. The losses you do analyze, right? You analyze the losses, you don't do them again. The wins you stack, right? So how we got to where we are now is because I went to Jiffy Lube that day. Right. And started this thing, and that was
service.
Full service, right? And I had to go home to get some work done. So I couldn't sit there at Jiffy Lube for 3 hours. So they gave me a ride, right? Preston gave me a ride. And this whole thing started. And that was just one little win throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
And that stacked on top of the next thing.
That was kind of like the first or second domino as they started falling.
Well, too, he was telling me that he was thinking about this for a while. And I was just, now that I'm looking back, I think you just needed that one little push to go for it, because we were talking, I think it was like right at a year before you opened the gym. And you were like, dude, in a year, I'm going to have a gym. And it was sure shit about later. That? It was about a year later. You opened it up. And then I don't think I ever told you that, but I was thinking about that. And I was like, he was right. There we go. That's it. And I think another thing too, is that Philip is not lazy. And because if you would have been lazy during that time period, like imagine how all this stuff could have changed too.
Oh, the ship would have sunk for sure. Busy. I mean, his schedule was constantly full. I don't think the dude had time to sleep. Like he didn't sleep.
Back then I didn't sleep very much.
3-4 hours a night. Yeah. Was what Phil would sleep back then.
But I think that it's important to realize that because of that, like my idea of what it could be, what our idea of what this would turn into is completely different than what it is now.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Right. And I think that that's what's important. That's speaking of those, stacking the small wins. Each time you win, you learn. Each time you lose, you learn something, and then you stack the wins on top of each other. And the end result is so much different than what I pictured and what we the discussions that we had about what this could become, is way different now. I knew that we wanted it to be a gym, but the business model that we have is nothing like what I thought we would have had. Yeah. And you take each of the losses and each of the wins and you analyze them and you ask yourself why, how did it work? How could it have been better? How could it have been worse? What started it? What finished it? And then through each one of those, you learn a little bit and you tweak and you tweak and you tweak as you go. Pivots. Yeah. Pivots are very important.
You pivot a little bit. And it isn't linear either. Here's A and B. It doesn't look like this. It's doing backflips and up and down and around and all over the place.
And it did too.
And, I think it's applicable to anything. I can say that for like my investment portfolio that I've built. It really there's some basic things that I planned on happening from the beginning. Like, okay, I need to do this first, and then I'll get to this and this. And there's some stuff that is what I imagined, but it is not at all how I would have imagined it, even 5 years ago. It really doesn't look anything how I imagined it. And take Sean. Sean wanted to take pictures of cars on his cigarette boxes on his iPhone.
That's where it definitely started. But pivoting is super important.
Well, I guess the first idea was you wanted to take photos.
Yeah.
You liked photography.
Yeah, that's where it all
and began. Then now you're creating content and you're doing a podcast and it's blossomed into this videography. It's not just not you with an iPhone taking pictures of cars and cigarette boxes.
Yeah. Me and Justin always laugh about that because that's where me taking video started. It was like he was filming video and I was like, hey, let me hold your phone. And that's basically where it started, just like going and getting the full service. I'm just going to get this full service. And then next thing you know, we're sitting in front of, OTG signs and we're working out at OTG, which is kind of crazy to think about. So it's like just something that little can start it into, like you said, the domino effect. It's
so
crazy.
How many years ago, how old are you, Preston, right now?
I'm 22.
So you're 22. Yeah. So 16, that was 6 years ago.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yep. You're right then, because the gym is coming up on 5 years.
Yeah.
And so +1 obviously is 6. Right. If when we first met,
hold on a minute.
We said
that's
yep. That's it.
So carry the 1, divide the 2.
Can we change the subject from math? making me uncomfortable.
But that's one of the things I thought about before too. And then I just kind of brought back up was, it was like right at a year. And I was just like, dang, like that dude did it.
Yeah. Sure. There's always a way, and then, what year was Hurricane Harvey?
2017.
Oh my
2017.
God.
Okay. So we met shortly before that because Hurricane Harvey, we got stuck in my house.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We did. And you know what? I still remember too, that I think is really funny. And it's not because you were in pain, but he stepped down off the couch to do something and he got shot.
I got
electrocuted.
Because the water was energized, or
the water had made its way to the outlet, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I had to run outside and we turned hit the breakers off.
Then I let a snake in the house too. I opened the door and a snake just right in underneath the washer. Man. Yeah. It was like a little baby one, but
that was wild. I remember the main thing that stands out to me about that, keep in mind, like Preston's 16. You know, we were hanging out, but I mean, that's pretty young. And I never met his.
You were about 25.
I guess so. Yeah. And so, you know, and he lived right around the corner. So it was real easy. But I had never met his parents before, you know, because we'd just been hanging out for a couple months. And so, you know, he's at my house and the water starts to come up. And I remember like you called your dad or he called you or something.
Yeah, he called me.
And he was worried. And you were like, hey, I'm just right around the corner. If it starts to get bad, I'll come home. Well, next thing you know,
it was like 30 minutes later.
30 minutes later, water's in the house.
It got bad. Yeah.
And I was like, what?
And it was crazy. And then there was a point in time where I couldn't find him. The water was getting real bad. And it wasn't in the house yet. It was not quite in the house yet, but it was getting there. And I was looking for him because I was ready. The water was coming in the garage, which was closer to the road than the house. Right. So I'm like, hey, we need to go get all this stuff out of the garage and bring it in the house because it's going to get wet.
It was like dumbbells.
Yeah. It was like all the workout stuff, you know, and there was some other stuff I do, but anyways, so I'm looking for him and I'm like, where's Preston? So I go outside in the water, like the whole yard is underwater and I can't find him anywhere. And it is just pouring raining and lightning and thunder. And I'm just freaking out. I'm like, this dude's dad's going to kill me. Like I've never met him before. He's at my house.
Son's dead now.
Yeah.
Drowned in my living room.
Yeah.
Right. He's fighting the snake in the garage.
And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure I'm outside, like yelling, like, for your name and just like, and so I finally make my way through like probably about roughly knee to thigh deep water out in the front yard. I see Preston, you know where the house is.
Yeah.
He's out at the 4-way intersection up to his chest in water.
Jump in, the water's fine.
Helping the cars get through.
What?
Pushing cars, directing the cars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this dude is wild.
Yeah.
He's out here.
I'm like, get
swimming in the
in
streets.
this house, dude.
Yeah.
Like they'll let them figure out their life. Don't put your life at risk. I understand you want to be out there and help them, but this is a serious matter.
Yeah. Harvey was pretty bad.
You know, it went from like thunderstorm to our life was at stake.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Yeah. That was crazy.
I never even like thought about like, oh, like I could die. I was just like, oh, I don't want these cars to get stuck. I'm trying to help these people so they don't, because people were trying to go, like they had big jacked up trucks. They could go through it easily. Mm-hmm. So like they were fine, but like some of the smaller cars, they were like, they were kind of inching to see if they could go. Yeah. And I was like, no, don't do it. Yeah. Like you're going to ruin your car. Don't do it. And I didn't want to see anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Car. People's house is already getting ruined. Like not your car too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
So that's why I just went out to go.
Yeah.
Help them. And he comes running out like, oh my God. Dude, what are you
I was scared, dude. I just remember when the water started coming in the house, I didn't have flood insurance.
Yeah.
I just thought it was over, and then, we just started talking. And then when the water did come in the house, I don't know. I just kind of freaked out for a couple minutes. And then,
he did.
And then I remember Preston was just like, dude, it is what it is. There's nothing that we can do about it this time. And we started making some food.
Yeah.
Water's pouring in the front door. You're in the kitchen.
Yeah, we just started cooking. We were just like, there's nothing we can do.
Y'all make waffles?
We made bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs. That's what it was.
That sounds great.
Yeah, waffles have been good too.
I like waffles. You were doing something on your laptop too with Forex.
Damn, still working.
I don't
work and
flipping bacon.
I think that it was just like anything to get our minds off of.
We get a clip of that, Sean.
Yeah, right. Just tearing it up.
We were just doing fucking.
It was
the numbers are down. What the hell?
With water in the house. He's got his flippers on. He's
kicking fish out of the way like
snakes.
I think that it was just anything to get the mind off of what was actually happening.
Yeah.
Bacon and eggs.
It definitely was. I think that was one of the things I said. I was like, look, man, like there's nothing else that we can do. Like I cannot magically make this go away.
That's right.
Or make the rain stop. And, and then I think while I was outside too, like in chest deep of water in the middle of a road that
just directing traffic.
Yeah. This way, please.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you stop.
He was,
Air
dude.
traffic control.
Put the vehicle in park, ma'am.
I can still see it. I can still see it in my mind because that's a pretty wild little intersection right there. Like, it gets pretty crazy right there. I can envision it right now.
What's funny too is he was inside doing something, and for whatever reason, this just popped in my head. I had a skimboard in the back of my truck. So I was skimboarding in his front yard.
Yeah,
too.
we were doing that before it got too bad.
Yeah.
Before it got too bad.
When it was still fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is cool.
Yeah. When we thought it was
life-
still just like a flood.
Yeah, it's not life threatening yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. And then, but yeah, I was out there, and then some big jacked up fire truck came and was just like, hey, yeah, we'll come back for you in like 30 minutes. And then I think like an hour went by and didn't see him again. And we were just like,
they ended up coming to the door and we waded through the water back to League City Park with 96 there and got in the fire truck, and they took us to that school down the road.
Yes, that's right. The school. And then it was cold in there too.
Yeah, it was super cold because it was October, right? October. I don't remember if it was
August.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was, it was August.
It was August.
Yeah,
so it wasn't cold outside, but
I think it was just because the water and the wind and everything like that.
Who knows?
So,
but I just remember, we went there, we tried to sleep for a little bit, and then your dad picked us up the next morning, and then I went back to my house, and and at the end of the day, I think it was like 6 inches. You know what I mean? It was just enough to make it annoying, bad. Yeah. Just enough to make it bad and a full, extensive cut out and rebuild of the sheetrock and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Hurricane Harvey, what a bitch.
It was, dude.
Yeah, dude, that sucked. Yeah, I remember that. A lot of people were out because of that fight. There was a fight going on. I think it was Mayweather and McGregor.
Oh,
I had people at my house that night for the fight.
Yeah.
And so they actually were able to leave before the storm rolled in. Like it was raining, but it wasn't flooded yet.
Hard.
So like, oh, hey, we're going to get out of here. Fight's over. And they actually rolled out in time, make it to their houses. But yeah, I remember thinking, man, if they'd have stayed here any longer,
they would just stayed overnight.
we'd have just hanging out at the house, which is fine.
Where were you at? What house?
Galveston. I was on, my first house in Galveston.
Galveston? Yeah, that sounds scary. Yeah, that sounds super
It was a
scary.
little sketchy, but whatever. So
Skimboarding over the causeway.
Hurricane Harvey. Yeah, skimboard. I did go onto the causeway and parked at the top and was like checking everything out at one point because my truck was tall enough to get through the water. But anyhow, so time passes. You cook bacon and eggs.
Mm-hmm.
You go stay the night at the school. His dad comes and gets you. And what's the next? What's some of y'all's next ventures y'all get into?
The next thing I really remember is opening the gym and like working out. You remember when the because we had a lot of issues with opening the gym with city ordinance and stuff like that. So with permits, it took us a long time to get the gym open. So I do remember working out quite a bit before. Like technically, I had the space. But there was
have the business.
There was no business going on because the fire marshal wouldn't let us open up.
Yep.
Yeah, and the city inspector. So I learned a lot. Speaking of learning lessons, I learned a lot through that for sure. But I remember just working out a lot.
Yeah, you can't just put some workout equipment in. You can't lease a building, put workout equipment, and start a gym. You got to have business license, and the fire marshal has to approve.
It has to be safe for the public.
Right.
Was our issue. The building was old and there hadn't been a tenant there for a while.
There has to be multiple exits. Like, what's the big deal here, man?
That was the big one actually, because all the exits are at the front, and we were big enough where they wanted us to have a second exit, but the second exit was backed up to another business on the other side. Right. They didn't make. They were like, they were like, sorry. They had no answers. So what we ended up, the answer was I hired an architect to come in, and the architect found a loophole in the city code about how we could get away.
Got a SME there.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a SME in that bad boy.
100%.
Subject matter expert, a SME.
Yeah, 100%. Got a expert out there, and he proved to the city and the fire marshal that we didn't need an exit in the back of the back of the business. But anyway, so we did. I just remember working out in there a lot, and at that point, I think is when I learned that you can't be great at multiple things at one time. I think that's about the time. So all these other little things kind of stopped about that time.
Dude, he definitely put all his focus into that. As soon as he
quit both of his other jobs and went all in on OTG. You put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah. So everything else stopped, from the trading, the stocks, the crypto stuff that I was doing at the time. Everything stopped just to focus on this one thing.
Yeah.
And that's, you can't be great at multiple things. And so we were
you don't have the time. You don't have the time
You don't have the mental capacity.
Yeah, you can't.
It's not even a time issue.
You don't have enough time though. But like so you need to be great at something. You need time.
Yeah,
and a lot of it. Not very many people have enough time to do multiple great things at once. Now you can do one and get good or great at it, and then do something else and get good or great at it and move on down.
Yeah,
the line.
you get that first machine working.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where we're at now. Like the gym's working, and now here we are working on this podcast.
Yeah,
right. And so hopefully we can get this machine working. Yeah. And then once it's flowing, then the next machine, we'll work it up. And then what? Shortly after that, Preston went to the Army.
Yeah. So you went in at 18, you graduate high school,
go
in the Army.
I actually graduated a semester early from high school, and I signed all of my paperwork and did everything at 17. So pretty much right after I turned 18. So my mom had an issue with her head. She had a craniotomy and stuff. She had what's called an AVM. And she had 5 aneurysms inside of it. It's basically a bunch of veins, arteries, and stuff that form a mass.
Wow.
And so it was about a golf ball size in her head that had 5 aneurysms in it. And so she had a craniotomy. So I pushed my date back, my ship out date for basic training. I think it was like a month or 2 or so. And then dealt with all that stuff. And then finally I came out and I left, went to basic, and started my years of a love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Like, what's that like? I don't know. This is something I should be more educated on. I don't know very much of anything about
tell us a handful of stuff you love and a handful of stuff you hate.
Yeah. Man, look, so basic, I'll just kind of start from the beginning, going through basic and stuff. Basic was, we had a couple people just in the in-processing. It's called 30th AG, and you go there. It's where you get your uniforms, you get your first haircut, you get all your stuff, shots, whatever. And we had people that were quitting in 30th AG. People were quitting. And I was like,
why?
What do you mean? I don't know. It was, I think what it was.
Probably didn't like the haircut or something.
Yeah. Right.
Screwed my head up. I'm
out. Well, I don't know if you remember, I shaved my head for my mom because my mom had the craniotomy. And so me and my buddy shaved our heads for her because she had to get half of her shaved. Yeah. So I already was used to that, like, oh, whatever,
Go ahead and give me a free haircut.
Yeah. Right. And it was a little bit shorter than what I was used to, but it wasn't bad. And so, but I think the biggest thing was the change of environment for people. And they realized, oh my gosh, I'm in a different state.
They've never been away from family before, maybe.
Yeah. Where'd you go to basic at?
Georgia.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Fort Benning. Yeah. It was.
What's it like though, mentally? Like, what's going through your head? You're seeing these people quit. You're doing these things for the first time. You're away from your parents for the first time.
I had a crazy sense of deja vu. I don't know why. It felt like I had already been through this stuff before with other things. I almost felt like football practice, like coaches yelling at you and stuff. That's how it was for me, at least. We had guys
kind of familiar to you.
Right. We had guys breaking down, crying, 30-year-old guys there that were breaking down crying. I was just like, this is really weird.
So you're 18 and you're like, okay, just give me my haircut and I'm going to go work out.
Yeah. I just survived Hurricane Harvey. What's going on?
Yeah. Right.
I was directing traffic during a fucking hurricane. Right.
But, so, it's really easy. It's so easy. And I say this, because it's even more, especially easy, but, it was easy for me because they give you what you're doing for the day. They tell you what to do. They tell you what to wear and when to be there.
Yeah. So I get the impression that being in the military is simple, but not easy. It's physically demanding. You got to make sure you're on time. You got to make sure your stuff's all squared away. But it's very simple. They tell you exactly what you need to do when you need to do it.
Right. It's
do the things they say.
I say it because obviously me and Philip worked out a lot, and I was just very fit in general. And so it was, all that stuff was, I played sports, football, basketball, soccer, baseball, whatever, everything, you name it. And so I was used to that. So the physical part, that was not a challenge for me. A lot of people dealt with the mental of being away and oh my God, people yell at me. There were some things that were very questionable that happened by some of the drills, just belittling people.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of, but
I think maybe they're testing people. And I think that this is, you're kind of brushing over this like it's not a big deal, but I think that you have a strength here that you're just kind of blowing off, but to be able to mentally bring yourself to feel oh, this feels familiar. Well, that's a skill. that not a lot of people have. Just like we were in that house, water coming in, and I'm freaking out. Preston's like, dude,
we're gonna do direct traffic.
Let's make some bacon and eggs.
But
I gotta get
bacon and eggs. Come on.
And that sounds funny. Like we're all here laughing about it, but that's a skill.
That's a skill. Yeah.
That is a very valuable.
I never even really thought about it like that.
It is. Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that to me, so I just didn't cross my
mind. For sure, because they're all breaking down, but you can get inside of your head and put yourself in an environment, and that allows you to be I don't want to say stronger, but in that moment in time, you become a stronger person than anyone else in the area.
More mental fortitude than the other.
And I'm not going to like brag on myself or anything, but I definitely was a little bit ahead of a lot of people in basic training from my perspective, at least, because we had a wide variety of people in basic. I mean, we had dudes that were like ridiculously smart and they were book smart, not street smart or anything. So like some of the things were just like kind of the outcasts of the group, you know? And then you have people from all over the world come in. I mean, we had a Sikh in my class, actually. I can't remember exactly where he was from, but I mean, he had hair that he looked like Jesus. Wow. He had a beard that went down, to his hip line. Yeah. He was a Sikh.
What's that?
There's like it's a religion, basically, but that's what they call it. They call them the Sikhs. And there's another one too. I can't remember, but yeah. So he had hair, and we were just like, cause he had a super long beard, and we were like, dude, I wish I could have a beard, like, dude, you're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the dude, you're not allowed with that religion. You're not allowed to shave, cut hair or anything like that. It's against the religion. And so, that's the cool thing about the Army is if you do have religion, then that goes against that, then you can keep your facial hair and your hair and stuff like that. So like he didn't get it cut off for basic or nothing.
That's funny. I've told the story about my dad. My dad went to the Marine Corps in the 70s. They're hippies, smoking weed, long hair, all that stuff, And I don't remember if it was him or one of his buddies. He said they showed up, and of course it's 70s. So these drill instructors are saying and doing things that are probably not politically correct. But he said, they're lining people up. They're giving shots, issuing equipment, buzzing hair off. And I can't remember if it was my dad or his buddy. Sat down. They both had long hair. And he was like, so, the barber's like, the drill instructor's like, what do you want? What kind of haircut do you want or whatever? And he's like, oh, well, I think I really had a choice. I'm kind of breezing through the beginning of the story. It's not the punchline. And the drill instructor asked him if he would like to keep some on the top or if he would like to keep his sideburns or something. And he's like, yes, sir. And he goes, all right, hold out your hands. And he shaved it off. And he grabbed a handful and he put it in his hand and was like, you can keep that. Would you like to keep some or whatever?
That's funny.
And that story has always stuck with me.
I've never heard that one.
You want to keep your sideburns or you want to keep your some on the top or whatever? All right, you can keep it. Hold your hands out.
That's really funny.
So anyhow.
Yeah. So, after going through, the majority of it, like I think one of the first things that you do in basic training is a confidence course. And they call it a confidence course because there's a lot of really high, like officers, very large, like playground basically is what it is. And so you have to go through and climb towers. Like you don't have a harness on, you don't have anything. I mean, there's fall protection and stuff,
right?
But, you're climbing up. You have to use your body strength and everything. And that was super easy for me. I like to climb. So I'm a tree climber, I grew up doing that stuff. So, but the one thing that did scare me, I think it was like 40 or 50 foot tall, and it's just a giant ladder, and it goes kind of at a point. And so the higher you get, the narrower it gets. And then it goes to a rope, and the rope is like 100 foot long, and you have to get on top of the rope and you have to slide on top of the rope all the way down it. And then you flip over and let yourself fall like 20 feet into a net.
Nice.
That was like, that took a little bit of like, okay, come on.
So what happens if you don't make it? What happened if you don't make it?
I mean, you're just going to fall into the net either way.
Oh, you don't get as good of a confidence score.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
sorry.
It's not really, so they don't like score you or like test you on it or whatever, but they make you go through it until you get it right pretty much.
Yeah.
And so it
puts you in some adverse scenarios that it's not always going to be comfortable, especially if you go to war.
Yeah. And then I think right after that, the next week after that was the rappelling tower. And that was where I was like, wow, this is super cool. I really want to do this, but really kind of sketchy, you know, because the rope is very thin on that stuff. And it's like, I don't think that's going to hold me, you know, but I mean, it does, it did its job and everything. And so, you know, you get suited up and get your little army helmet on and everything and
a little army helmet.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then you rappel down the tower and, you know, that after I did that, everything else, easy. I could do any of it, you know? And then the other thing, we did a lot of rucks. So each week we did a build up. So the first ruck march that we ever did, you know, you guys know what a ruck is?
Mm-hmm. Weighted vest, basically.
Yeah,
no, not a vest.
Yeah, with their bag, right?
Yeah, it's a big backpack. I should have brought it. Dang.
Yeah.
It's
you could have wore it on the show.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Rucked here.
I should have just wore my whole uniform.
Yeah, you should just rucked up here. Yeah. You should just rucked down from the house.
I'm actually doing 75 hard, and that was part of it. Rucking, you know, the however many miles, 50 miles, but yeah. So each week we had a build up ruck. I think the first one was like a mile or two. And oh my gosh, that was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Typically it's like about 35 to 40 pounds in this big backpack and you're just wearing it and you're just walking. That's all it is. Yeah. We had weapons that we were carrying and that was it.
So you're weighted down. You probably got, you know, between 50 and 100 pounds of gear on you.
Right. Yeah. And that 1 mile.
That's what the rucks are for. They're kind of like preparing you to walk long distances with all your gear on.
Yeah. Okay, with your gear, everything you need to survive in whatever place it is. And so, man, that like 1 mile, that first ruck, I think it was like 1 or 2 miles, but that was the hardest thing I had ever done to that time. Yeah. Cause I'd walked with like some weight stuffed in a backpack before and, you know, that was easy, but I don't know, with the boots and just where we were going, the environment, I think I was already kind of physically exhausted too. And then we went on this ruck later at night actually. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. It was on pavement too. So it was kind of a little bit harder on the feet. And, but yeah, that was like one of the hardest things. And then after that, it just kept going up by, you know, a mile or 2 miles until we got to 12 miles. And then the 12 miles. So for combat, I was infantry. I was airborne infantry in the 82nd. So did a lot of jumpy boy stuff, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with rucking and everything, the standard for that is 3 hours for a 12-mile ruck.
Yeah.
And which is, it's a lot harder than you think, actually. I don't know if
you
guys have ever done that.
I've never tried it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Dude,
I bet it's tough.
Combat, look, this
sounds tough. Yeah.
Yeah. This one thing that I was going to tell you that I was going to hit on today for sure, because I thought about it, was combat fitness is the new like hip thing. Apparently. Yeah. We had this is totally off topic. Let me just say this and I'll get back on. But we had a NFL football team, like the whole training group for an NFL team, come down to our company and talk to us and learn some of the combat fitness stuff that we do so that they can implement it for like NFL stuff and all that. Wow. So that was pretty cool. That was a really cool thing. I did a lot of cool stuff in my Army career that a lot of people have not even come close in a 20-year career. You know? And, but yeah, so going back to that, we did, you know, the rucks, it was a mile each time, each week added until we got to the 12 mile. And then we had, it was like our version of the Crucible or whatever, our Hell Week or whatever. And, that was pretty hard. That was very physically demanding. But we knew that this was the last thing. And so everybody was just trying to help each other at like, hey, if you can't carry that, then give it to me. I'll carry it for a little bit. We'll switch off, you know, like at one point I had, so full gear, like my vest, like with my ballistic plates and stuff, they were training plates, but, that I had a box of MREs, which is very uncomfortable to hold, by the way, like with just one arm. And then I had my rifle and then a machine gun in my right hand.
Hell yeah.
And then we would just switch off. So I would switch the machine gun for a 5-gallon water jug, or I'd switch the box of MREs for another water jug. So at one point I was carrying 2 water jugs. At one point I was carrying my weapon, the machine gun, 2 water jugs and a box of MREs stuck in between here so I can give these dudes a break from carrying the stuff. And then, you know, after that. So anyway, the point was it was very challenging, you know, because we had a lot more stuff to carry than we had arms to carry.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like the big challenge there is the mental fortitude, the kind of Sean used that term earlier, because it's the monotony of it.
Right.
You know, it doesn't sound like much. You're just walking with a backpack and you're like, oh, I just got to carry this box. But you ever been carrying a box like inside from your car to the kitchen. You're like, this sucks. This is very annoying. Think about doing that for 3 hours.
Yeah. I'm terrible about like grabbing baskets at the grocery store. The other day I went in there, I grabbed something, I grab a couple of things. Next thing you know, I have all this stuff.
I do the same thing.
Around HEB like an idiot.
I'm not getting a cart today.
Basket, damn, help. So,
fall on the ground.
Preston comes out of nowhere, scoops them all up for
I'll
you.
carry your oranges.
there you go.
Stacking them on my head.
Yeah, I love it.
But so we did that, and we knew that was the last thing. We didn't know what was going to happen next. We just knew that was the last thing. And so what we did was we took all that stuff, we rucked to our little company area, we dropped the water jugs and gear, and then they were like, all right, go back out to the road with all your stuff on. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do anything else. Like, how am I going to do more? They want us to do more. And so I think we ended up rucking another mile down the road to a place. It's called Honor Hill. And that's where every single infantryman that has been in, the United States Army has graduated. That's where they go at the end for their graduation.
Nice.
And so we rucked like another mile down the road, dropped all our stuff. And then it's really cool how it is. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like some voodoo stuff almost, but
I'm into it.
So when you get up there, the gates open up and there's just this giant bonfire of stuff. And it's like, there's no lights around either. So it's just the bonfire. And then you have like a couple drill sergeants standing around. Their hats are looking all mean and stuff. And they were like, basically, all right, boys, like, welcome to Honor Hill. You guys have done it.
You made it.
Yeah, you made it pretty much. And so that was really cool for me. That was one of those special moments. And, actually Honor Hill burned down, like I think a year ago or something.
Really?
So, yeah. It was very sad to see.
Yeah. Big bonfire. Not a lot of, yeah.
But, so we did the whole ceremony, and then you guys know what a grog is?
Mm-mm.
No.
The grog is where they mix a whole bunch of like random stuff in a big punch bowl, basically. And
Big potion.
Big potion. Yeah.
You talking alcohol?
So,
or?
some jungle juice?
Everything.
Some jungle juice, man.
Like just random juices, random alcohol, and it tastes terrible. It's always terrible. It's just a mix of whatever,
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
There's none of that allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we bought the grog up and he got mad.
Fucking grog.
Yeah. So what they did, and you know what's really funny, that I'm going to tell this story before I finish, because some dude, we have those little canteen cups. They're metal canteen cups. We use those to shave in the field. We use those to, do whatever. One of my buddies, I laugh because I'm picturing it. One of my buddies that was in basic with me used his to go to the bathroom to pee in. And
why instead of, anyway,
I don't know. He was walking, and instead of just like slinging it everywhere, like do whatever. So he peed in it or whatever. And again, we had shaved. So there's shaving cream, like little whiskers all in there and everything. And so those cups were what they filled up the grog with.
Jesus. Is that probably why it tasted so bad?
That's probably part of the reason, but I know for sure those things have never been cleaned out in the years that they have been used. And so, so we drank out of the grog.
You drank out of your shaven pea cup.
We drank out of it. And
thanks, Sergeant.
Yeah, right.
I'll have another.
A little gritty.
Gritty.
But so then I graduated, and I went straight to airborne school after that. We had a big like ceremony for the graduation, and then I saw my parents for a little bit, and I went straight to airborne school. And
that was also in Georgia.
Yes, it was like right down the road from it.
Okay.
So we took a bus over there, and I think I got like a 4-day weekend or whatever. So we went out to a bowling alley and like bowl, and it was normal stuff,
Yeah.
And then in process for airborne school, and there was a lot of stuff that I was just like, why? And then I started seeing other people that couldn't even get it right and stuff. And I was like, okay, I understand it now. But we did it. You start off ground week, and then you go to tower week, and then you go to jump week. So ground week, you do everything on the ground. You learn how to fall whenever like you land with a parachute, you learn how to land basically. And then tower week is you're kind of jumping out of like towers. You're in basically a big playground. It's all swings. So you're just swinging, and you're just like learning to pull your slip and like stuff like that on parachute. And then you have a giant, it's like I think it was a 34-foot tower or something. And it's got zip lines that go all the way down about 100 foot. And so you're sitting out, it's like a mock airplane. You're sitting out, you got your harness and everything on, it's hooked up. And then they're like, all right, go. And then you jump out and the zip line catches you and you just zip line all the way down. That was super fun. Yeah. It was really cool. So I enjoyed that. And then I think we had another 4-day weekend before jump week. And so we got a little bit of a break before it. And then we get into jump week, and the first day, I think it was, the first day that we jumped, or we were trying to jump, it was raining and windy. It was terrible. So they scratched all the time. We were sitting rigged up in parachutes, these heavy, uncomfortable parachutes for hours. And so that first day got scratched. The second day got scratched too. So we're left with like really a day and a half or whatever to jump. And you have to do 5 jumps out of a plane to get like your wings basically. And so in that first day, we jumped 3 times. So jump, you grab your parachute and everything, run back, they bust you back, you grab a new parachute, you get on another plane, go jump again. And we did that 3 times the first day. And then the second time, the second day was 2 jumps in a row. And one of them was a night jump too. So, cause like you do all
tripped out.
Yeah, it was super trippy whenever you jump out. Cause you're looking out the door of the plane and like, it's black. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
you got to step out just into the darkness almost.
And this is something because of a special, I don't know what you call it, but this is not something that everyone does. Or is this like your special unit? Like what are you doing within the Army to have to go do this special type of training?
I just kind of got this contract from my recruiter. They were like, hey, we have this airborne slot if you want it.
Oh, so you didn't pick it. It's just,
well, no, I did pick it actually because it's an extra like $150 a month. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Jumping out of planes for free. You're paying me to jump out of a plane. Yeah. That sounds cool. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's how that got. But so our unit, the reason why we have an airborne unit in the Army is mainly for airfield seizures. So if whatever, like the Kabul thing, I'll get into that later, but the whole Kabul airport in Afghanistan, like there was a tentative idea in some bigwig's brain that we were going to jump in there and take it back. Cause all the Afghanis and everything flooded that whole airport and, try to basically take over it. And so they had an idea, like we were thinking for probably a good week that we were about to jump into Afghanistan, and everybody was just like, yo, this is crazy. Sick, but like crazy, like,
and you were going to be a part of that.
Yeah. So, well, I was a part of Kabul, but we didn't jump, unfortunately, because that would have been pretty cool. But so we get done with airborne school. I get my wings. I go directly to my unit, and shout out Seco 1504 out of Red Devils. And so I get there and immediately I go get all my gear issued to me. I get in process, blah, blah, blah. And then I immediately go out to the field, and they're doing a whole like 2-week long field op. They're just like live fires, practicing stuff, and doing what we call battle drills, like how to set up an ambush or whatever. So I get out there, and then we get done with the field. We go on 2 weeks of leave. This is Christmas time now. And so I'm all the way back here. Keep in mind, I was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, so I'm all the way back here.
North Carolina.
Oh yeah. Good time. Very beautiful state, I will say. Not around Fort Bragg though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I come back, and I hadn't driven my truck in months, I've been gone. So got my truck, got pretty much everything I owned fit in my truck. And this is towards the end of our leave, and I was about to start heading back, and I get a call from one of my team leaders at the time. And he was just like, hey, I think it was a Wednesday. And he was like, hey, be back by Saturday. We're having a formation, like blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, that's weird. Like whatever. And then I get another call 30 minutes later. Hey, be back Friday, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, like what's going on? They're like, we're getting more information. And I was like, okay. And then another probably 30 minutes to an hour of me driving already on my way to North Carolina. They were like, hey, you need to be back in 24 hours. We're deploying. And I was like, okay. I then was it was a whole wave of emotions. I was just like, whoa,
Yeah, we're going to war.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm brand new. Like, I don't know this stuff. I was like, damn, I should have paid attention to basic, like all this stuff. I was like, and because the thing was our drill sergeants always was like, you're probably never going to deploy, blah blah blah. Like, you need to know this, but yeah, they told us that. They're like, you're probably never going to deploy. I've only got however many deployments, blah blah blah. Like, and I'm an E6 or whatever. And I was just like, okay. And then tensions with Iran started, and then while I was in airborne school actually, and so I deployed. Like, I got home at 4 a.m. or got to Fort Bragg at 4 a.m, unloaded everything I owned, packed my stuff for deployment. And then, what did I do? I sealed my room shut, and then I had to go back to the company, and then got locked down from there. So it was just like, you guys can't leave. Like, we're about to go. And so I was like, okay. So I slept at the company for like, I think it was like 2 or 3 days, and then we left, and we got stuck in Kuwait for a while. And if you don't know anything about Kuwait, Kuwait is very sandy and very hot.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And
it smells very bad.
Yeah.
So we got stuck in Kuwait for a while, and being in that moment and being in Kuwait, we trained every day, twice a day. Like, our schedule was Monday to Saturday. Sunday was like our only rest day that we didn't have anything planned. And it was Monday through Saturday, wake up at 5 a.m. or 4 or 5 a.m. before the sun comes out and everything, so it's not stupid hot. Work out, and then go eat breakfast, and then after that, like, we had like either a range schedule, so we had to go shoot or do whatever, or we went to go work out again, or it was just constant. There was no rest, or we had classes. In that probably like 2 or 3 months that we got stuck there, I probably crammed like 2 to 3 years worth of knowledge.
Yeah.
In that 2 or 3 months. And at the time it was sucked. I was like, dude, this is terrible. Like, let me just chill. We're not doing anything, like, blah, blah. I'm tired of training every day. But looking back, I was extremely thankful for that. You know, there's a lot of things that you might be going through now that are just like, dude, this sucks. But a lot of times in the end, you look back and you're like, wow, I'm actually really glad I did that. And that's one of the things. I'm really glad that I did that. And I pushed through it. And
you're either going to be uncomfortable now or uncomfortable later.
Right.
That's life, period.
Yeah.
And when it comes to fitness, when it comes to business, military, whatever. Right. So, anyhow, sorry. That's
no, you're good.
Point I wanted to bring up.
I wanted you to kind of say that. But
I was hoping that you would say that. I fell right into his trap.
But so I think it was like 2 or 3 months that we got stuck there, and then we got the call to push to Iraq. And so we hated our commander at the time. We called him Steve. His real name is, I'm not going to say it.
Fuck Steve.
But yeah, that's what we said. We said, fuck Steve every time. And we went to a C4 range to go blow up stuff out in Kuwait. And we had a big Bangalore charge, like, yay big, and rep C4 all around it and duct tape. And we put fuck Steve on it. Yeah. Sharpie, and we blew it up. Yeah. That was a good time.
Fucking Steve.
But yeah, if he's watching, he'll know. He knows me. He knows me very well. But yeah, so we did that. We got the call to push to Iraq, and he came in like scream. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He's screaming like,
Steve was?
Yeah, Steve. And he was like, get up, everybody, we're going to war, blah, blah, blah. Like, just like going at it. And we were just like, yo, like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what's going on? They're like, pack your stuff right now. We're like, we're leaving, blah, blah, blah. Just rambling, And cause he's a brand new captain. So he's an 03 and he's still new. Like, he never deployed before. He's only been in for like, a couple of years. And, so this was like his first,
so
spin around
Steve
the block.
Was still green.
Yeah. And so he was freaking out. And, so like we pack our stuff and everything and went to Iraq, flew on helicopters out there. And that was pretty cool. I think that was my first time being in a helicopter and was going out there. And I love riding helicopters. I have a really good story about helicopters.
Let's hear your helicopter story.
I've never been in a helicopter.
Me neither. It's kind of sketchy to me.
Oh, dude, there's so much.
And I'm not
I'd rather be in a helicopter than a plane. Anyway.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, helicopters just seem really a lot less stable and sketchy to me, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a scared of heights type guy. Like heights don't bother me. I've, did rope access work for several years. I've been skydiving, rock climbing, stuff like that. But Something about a helicopter just seems like it could just.
You got more control in a helicopter.
It's hard. It's hard to fly. You have more control in the plane, but have you ever seen the video? I kept popping up on my Instagram or something a while ago, but they stick a ball. It's like a plate with a stick and they stick a ball on there and you have to balance it. That's what it's like to fly a helicopter. So,
but your life's on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Instead of just the ball falling.
How much fun does that sound?
Sounds great.
But yeah, so helicopter. Right?
I would enjoy that.
So this is towards the end of my time in the Army. We got invited to go to the the Coca-Cola 600 in South Carolina, and for the NASCAR race.
NASCAR.
Yeah, buddy, come on.
In South Carolina.
Yep. And
I bet there was some sights to see.
Oh yeah. Lots of Daisy Dukes and a bunch of drunk rednecks.
Well, that's what I was getting. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
That's how it was. But yeah, so we got invited to go there and they were like, hey, but we want you guys to fly in to the stadium. And we were like, okay. So we got on Blackhawks and we flew into the middle of the stadium, and yeah, that's how it was. Damn. It was a sold out race too. So the stands are packed.
Of course, it was in South Carolina.
Yeah. Right.
NASCAR is
NASCAR. Come on, do it for
NASCAR in South Carolina.
Like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt. Yeah. I mean,
that's it, Bubba. That's all you need.
But, yeah. So there was thousands. And you know what? After we landed, so we had vehicles that we tested for the Army. It was actually my company specifically tested these new vehicles for the Army called the ISV, and pieces of crap, by the way. But yeah, so we took those as soon as we landed, we got out. I had a big rocket launcher on me. It's called a Carl Gustav, and it's a big rocket launcher, and it was very uncomfortable. And I had my weapon and everything too, my other one. And so we're running from the middle of the stadium to the track to get in these cars or these, trucks that we tested. And we did like a couple laps around and everything.
Dang,
with American flags. Sick. And it was really cool. I have a lot of pictures I'll show you guys later, but, yeah, so that was really cool. That was probably one of the coolest things. Cause I mean, you're flying over the stadium. We did like a couple laps around the stadium in the helicopter. Mm-hmm. And so doors are open on the helicopter. So I'm hanging out of the helicopter in the seat and like watching everybody's just like, wow. I'm just like, hey,
because you're close enough to see it, right. Like to see individual people.
Yeah, exactly. And so once we landed and got out of the trucks and everything like that, I had never taken so many pictures with people I'd never will ever see again in my life. I never knew, like everybody was coming up to me like, dude, can I take a picture? And I was just like, yeah, sure. Come on, whatever. So there's probably a lot of like really weird pictures of me with a whole green face.
Yeah.
And
I don't have any of these pictures.
Yeah. They should have freaking made me a recruiter because I let a lot of the kids hold the rocket launcher and stuff.
Yeah. Dude, you got to take a rocket launcher to a school. That's a good way to get
That's how you're recruiting some kids.
Right. But so I let a bunch of the kids hold the rocket. They were like, oh my gosh, really? Like, this is so cool. And I'm just like, yeah, hold it. Like, you can, play with it, whatever, pull the trigger, like do whatever. It's unloaded. So yeah, so that was really cool. And I guarantee a lot of those kids are probably going to join the military. Oh
yeah, because of you. You should get royalties off that.
That's what I'm saying.
You young South Carolina kids that joined the Army in 10 years, he gets Preston gets $1,000 a head.
Yeah, just walk up with their application. I want to shoot a rocket launcher now.
I ain't working for Steve. He's a bitch.
Yeah, but fuck Steve. So. But yeah, he's gone to a different unit, and he got stuck in a shop doing the shitty job, and that's exactly what he deserved too. So we were very happy to hear that because we had a couple buddies in his unit that were telling us about it.
Good for you, Steve. You do that shitty work.
Someone's got to do it, man. But
it's like a pretty wild Army career. All kinds of ups and downs.
So you do 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years active.
Yes, sir.
And when did you come home?
I didn't get home until September 1st. This last September 1st.
I knew that. I just wanted the people at home to realize. So we're recording this. Is it April or May right now? April 30th.
April 30th.
Sorry, I've been in Hawaii for 9 days. I don't know what month it is.
On island time.
Yeah, come on.
Hey,
no clocks.
The Hawaiians, I feel like, okay, there's clocks but like they really are on island time. Speed limits are like 25.
Just chilling.
And if you get to an intersection, like say you're driving down the road and you need to turn, but there's no stop sign. In Texas, you're going to wait until every single one of those people goes past, and then you're going to turn.
Right.
If you slow down and the person in front of you, they're like, you need, And they do this at each other. You need to cross. You just give them the thing, and they'll stop all the traffic and let you turn. Yeah, they're very courteous drivers.
Dang,
cool people, man.
Is that a puka shell necklace? What you got?
My Airbnb host gave me one, and I accidentally left it at the thing. It was not like a tight one. It was like but anyhow,
it should have been a tight one.
Yeah, like all white with a screw on the back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I used to wear those as a kid all the time.
I don't know if I had one, but I do remember them. But yeah, Hawaii, dude. They and like businesses are like 9 to 5, and that's a suggestion. Like a coffee shop hours 9 to 5 Monday through Wednesday.
They're surfing up at 3:30
Thursday through Sunday. Yeah. Like I mean,
in Japan, they don't get until 10.
Yeah. So now we're also on Maui and Kauai, which are not the big island, and Oahu. Oahu is probably the most populous has Honolulu and all that. Mm-hmm. It's a little more metropolis, I guess, from what I understand. But Maui and Kauai, nah, man. They'll show up when they get there, and you know, anybody who's like wait staff, they're just like, yeah, sure, man.
They're walking past you to open up. Oh shit, excuse me, man. Can I get it real quick?
Can I get a refill? You can get it yourself.
Yeah. Go get it yourself, bro. Yeah. But super cool, man. I enjoyed it. So I didn't know what month it was, but anyhow, he got out in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So 6, 7 months, 8 months tops. You've been home.
Yeah.
So
it feels weird.
Yeah. What are you doing now, Preston? What's the path forward from here?
I left my last job. Actually, that was a terrible job. I was working a lot
for Steve.
No,
fuck Steve.
Similar, almost worse than Steve. Actually.
Wow.
I was working 4 days on, 2 days off, 12-hour shift, but it was days and nights.
Oh,
so
that's rough.
It was very rough for me, and I was supposed to be on a DuPont schedule, so I get a week off every month,
Yeah.
That's the reason I accepted the job, because it wasn't the pay that I wanted for sure.
Right.
It's definitely not. In my opinion, I'm worth way more,
Right. Sure.
But, so I did that job. We were supposed to be on DuPont, and I didn't find out that we weren't on that schedule until 4 days in of starting working there.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, yo, this ain't cool. And I stuck it out for a while. I was still getting paid from the Army because I took terminal leave. Mm-hmm. So I had 83 days of terminal leave that I took. So that was like the end of my contract and everything. So I took all those days and came home early.
Nice.
So I was still getting paid. I was actually getting paid more than I ever was in the Army because I got BAH for not being in the barracks. So I was getting double paychecks for a while. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. Oh my gosh. If I can make that money, like, a month
you can.
now. I mean, I can, but I'm working on it.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
But if I could make that all the time, then I'd be loaded.
Yeah.
But
you're gonna be.
It's only a matter of time. Don't worry.
I will.
Yeah.
Trust me. The way that I work.
Flip a couple of crotch rockets. Do a couple of full services.
Exactly.
You're there, dude.
Trade some stocks,
Yeah. Trade some 4H.
Definitely 4X. But
4X, sorry.
Yeah. So I left that job finally. I guess like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I just started with a new company, and this company is awesome.
Good. So what are you doing? You don't have to shout out the company or anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the company, but it's I do battery backup systems for like grids and plants and pipelines, like nuclear power plants, offshore rigs.
Interesting.
Like, stuff like that. So
nice.
They lose power. Y'all come in, or y'all systems come into play.
Yeah. So we install like battery chargers for them. And
Generac, except for cooler.
Yeah. And you know what too? These batteries though, they're not like regular like car batteries that you think. These batteries are huge. Like we have batteries that are about yay big all the way to 700-pound batteries.
Wow.
And that was the last job I was on. We were doing, these batteries were on like 300 or 400 pounds, but we would just throw them, doing whatever. And, going back to what you said earlier about like that, me having a skill of just kind of being chill whenever everybody else freaking out. One of the dudes dropped one of the 400-pound batteries and cracked it. Sulfuric acid went everywhere, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah. See, that's what I said. That's what I told him. I was like, dude, it's fine. Like,
it'll buff out.
Yeah, it should buff out. Yeah, we'll just mop that up.
But shit happens, and I get that. There's a lot of things that this ain't my first rodeo on, things happening or incidents or whatever. And, I just told him, I was like, hey man, look, things happen. Let's go grab the spill kit. So the other dude ran, grabbed the spill kit.
You've been trained on this, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, so it's funny. This is actually my first job with this company. That was the first one I did, like actually. And so I didn't know what their actual like procedure was for stuff like this. And so, but I figured it out, I'm good at figuring things out. And, so we cleaned it all up and did everything. And then, they're going to go back on Monday. I'm going to do a different job. But yeah, so I'm doing that now and it's good money, but the good thing is I get every weekend off for the most part. I work Monday through Friday, straight days, and I'm making a little bit more money than what I was at the last job.
Good deal.
Yeah, nice, so man. Extremely happy about that. Like just my mental state, because my mental state back at the other job was
not good,
going down very bad. You can ask, my parents and some friends and stuff like that. Dude, I didn't even really recognize you anymore,
Yeah.
Is you going to stay? You feel like you're going to stay here for a while, or like, what do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to stay here and learn, because just the big push for like the new like green energy stuff and solar and everything. The only way to harvest that energy is batteries. And they're giving me that opportunity to learn all about these different batteries and how
part of the future for sure.
Right. And that's the main reason why I want to stay with this company for as long as I can until just a better opportunity comes.
Right.
Very cool.
That's super cool story, man. I want to run through a few of the takeaways here.
Sure. Yeah.
We started off with y'all meeting each other. Try things, people at home. You got to get that OJT. You can talk about it all you want. Try some stuff. Understand you will win and you will lose. Both of those will happen over time. The longer you wait, the more the fear will probably build. The longer you wait to take action, the fear of the action will grow. And go straight into his basic training. Do something every day that sucks.
Yeah.
And
bingo.
Get yourself uncomfortable on the front end now. That way you can be more comfortable later, right? Because you're going to be uncomfortable at some point. Fitness is just one basic thing that we talk about on the show. You're either going to get uncomfortable and be fit now, or you're going to be very uncomfortable later when you're older, a little bit overweight. Health markers aren't where they should be on your blood work. So that's a biggie, y'all. Do something that sucks every day and get uncomfortable.
I'm going to cut you off for a second because I wanted to add something to that.
Go ahead.
You're talking about doing something every day and don't have expectations, because when you have expectations and it doesn't meet, then, you kind of feel like let down or whatever. Don't have expectations. Just
do what needs to be done.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a big thing on, I think it's Russell Wilson. I don't remember who it is. One of a celebrity or an athlete that has personal coaches, and they foster what they call the neutral mindset, where you get your brain to a place where basically you're poised at all times. Nothing is good. Nothing is bad. If a good outcome happens, cool. If a bad outcome happens, cool. And so there's no, you approach things with a clean slate. Of course you want to try your best.
Right.
And you would of course prefer to have the good outcome, but if it doesn't go that way, cool. You'll learn and you'll try it again later, or you'll move on to the next thing or whatever it is. So kind of a little bit similar to what you're talking about.
I've kind of been like that for a lot of my life, honestly.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, when do you think having like that amount of kind of like mental fortitude started for you? Was it very early on, or has it, was it something happened and you were just like, all right, I need to just stick, lock in kind of,
I don't know. Honestly, I think it was just more of those, in middle school and stuff, I was a really bad kid. I was always getting in trouble and stuff like that, and I didn't have a bad childhood by any means, I was raised differently than a lot of people, but I had a pretty good childhood, but I was just a bad kid. I don't know why. I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And I just, was getting in trouble. And so once I got to high school, I was still kind of getting in a little trouble, but I was trying to clean myself up, because I was like, what am I doing? And I think after I realized like, wow, like I was a shithead, like ultimately I was, and then, I didn't know what direction that I was going to go in my life. And so that's where I found the Army. But I think that's kind of where it really started, was that, I got to do this. I have to do something, because I was so scared to fail, or like I don't want to be like homeless, or I don't want to, have to worry about this stuff. Like my end goal is just to be financially comfortable. Like I want to be able to go swipe my card or go. Like right now, I really want to buy a boat. I don't know why.
Terrible idea.
It is a terrible
investment.
Idea.
I don't even need to ask you where you're at financially. Bad idea. It doesn't matter.
I really want to buy a boat, and
Elon wants to buy a boat. It's a bad idea.
Bad idea.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm at. Like if I wanted to go buy a boat right now, I could go buy a boat right now, cash.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine on that aspect. But that's how I want to be. I want to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where it all started. Though was more of the high school, like going through football. I had a really bad neck injury in football too. And so I quit sports and I started working. Once I started working, that's when I really started picking up that attitude. And all I wanted to do was work. Cause those paychecks, somebody's paying me to do something I like to do. I was working on cars at the time.
You're motivated.
Yeah. And so it was nice. It was very nice. And so that's where it really all started, was like, okay, we had a lot of issues at, prior jobs and stuff, like working on cars or whatever. And so I got used to that. I got used to dealing with those issues and everything. And at a younger age, this was we were still working out and hanging out. I worked at a dealership. It was like a used car dealership, very big one actually. And I was the assistant manager for the shop for, the last probably 3 or 4 months that I was there, because I was the only one that knew how to work the system, the new system that we implemented. And I was the only one that could do all this stuff at the time, And so that's really where all that stuff started at, was, I guess, being the fortitude and everything.
Brings me to my next point I was going to bring up. Sean touched it. Stay poised in the face of adversity. Work on that, develop that skill, because that is a skill. Control your emotions when everything's melting down around you. You have to be able to control your actions and your emotions, and your mouth, especially during adversity. Right? I think that's when you're if you are. I think that's a big attribute of masculinity. Being able, a masculine man can operate and stay poised in the face of adversity. When shit's falling apart around him, he can clear his mind, take control of his actions, his mouth, and his emotions, and move forward and methodically. Right. So I think that's a good takeaway. Any others from y'all guys?
I mean, I think you touched on all of them. The big one for me is to try things.
Right.
Yeah. Try things. If you're interested in something, like you can go home and spend one night, diving all in for a few hours on YouTube or Google
a day or
Reddit or whatever it is where you want to learn about this thing. But the only way you're going to learn is to go try it.
Right.
Even if it's a complete miserable failure. Well, now you know not to do that again.
Yeah, don't buy crotch rockets. Yeah, that's my next point. Don't buy a crotch rocket. Don't buy a boat, and get your truck fully serviced.
Yeah. Now you know. Now you know.
Well, that was the thing. You've had your truck since you were 16?
Yeah, 15.
15? Yeah.
Yeah.
And still running, still going.
Truck's almost 17
years. It was that full service.
Yeah, it was the full service.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Truck's 17 years old, still running great.
And, just don't spend your money on stupid stuff that you don't need. Even though I'm saying,
make financially sound decisions.
Yeah. See, and you know what? I talk about buying stuff all the time. Like, oh man,
and then you don't.
And then I just whatever. I got bored of that. Bored of that
sounds
idea.
Like me.
I'm just like, but I have a lot of stuff. Like I'm in the middle of doing my home gym and everything like that. Cool. So I'm slowly getting stuff with that. And I was like, I'm going to buy this big rack and all this other stuff.
You get all excited about it at first.
Yeah. And then I'm just like,
nah,
I mean, I have a couple dumbbells. Bench, I have a squat rack. Like I have all that stuff already, So I'm just like, whatever. I'll save that for later.
I'll just get a Peloton. Fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much. But
Sean just spins.
I love it, man. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half, y'all. If nobody else has anything to add, I can take us out here.
Yeah.
No, not in particular.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. And,
we got to shout out Preston. What is your Instagram? Where can people talk to you?
Presto the Besto.
Presto at Presto the Besto on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Give him a follow. DM him. Tell him how handsome he was on the show. Send him money. Please,
that'd be sick. So I can buy a boat.
So you can buy a boat. And if nothing else, thank a veteran, man. Thank you for your service. And it's good to have you back, man. We weren't like super. I knew you before from Phil, right? Had met you and been around you, but it's cool. I know you're pretty close to Phil, and y'all's relationship's important to him, so it's important to me. And it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to see you here. We'll get some workouts in. Yeah, get some runs in because Sean's a big runner.
Yep. Me too. I like to run now. I used to hate it, but
try keeping up with Sean.
Yeah. Word. All right, y'all. Stay poised in the face of y'all. Stay poised in the face of adversity. Let's go.
Out. Dang. Yeah, we got hungry.
I'm hungry
look at those
too.
Souvenirs.
Yeah, for sure.
Show me those souvenirs.
Yeah.
Let's check out these souvenirs. This is from the Middle East.